turn the key. Before I make the mistake, before I lead with the worst of me, give them no reason to stare, no slipping up if you slip away. So I've got nothing to share, no, I got nothing to say. Step out of the sun if you keep getting burned. Step out of the sun because you've learned, because you've learned. On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass, waving through a window. I try to speak, but nobody can hear, so I wait around for an answer to appear while I'm watching people pass. I'm waving through a window. Can anybody see? Is anybody waving back at me? We start with stars in our eyes. We start believing that we belong, but every sun doesn't rise, and no one tells you where you went wrong. Step out of the sun if you keep getting burned. Step out of the sun because you've learned, because you've learned. On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass, waving through a window. I try to speak, but nobody can hear, so I wait around for an answer to appear while I'm watching people pass. I'm waving through a window. Can anybody see? Is anybody waving? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? Did I even make a sound? Did I even make a sound? It's like I never made a sound. Will I ever make a sound? On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass. I'm waving through a window. I try to speak, but nobody can hear, so I wait around for an answer to appear while I'm watching people pass. I'm waving through a window. Can anybody see? Is anybody waving back at me? Is anybody waving, whoa.
Good morning. My name is Robin Carter, and I serve as the president on the Board of Trustees of this Unitarian Universalist Church of Spartanburg. You'll note on your order of service today that Betty Custer was going to be here to share the board announcements this morning, but she's been sick and unable to join us. So we are sending get well soon wishes to her and Wayne at home. So allow me to fill in for Betty this morning and say welcome. Whether you are here in person or joining us virtually, this is a congregation where everyone is welcome, just as you are, wherever you are. Welcome members, welcome friends, welcome visitors. If you are a visitor this morning in the sanctuary, I'd like to call your attention to the visitor card located in the chair back in front of you. It actually says welcome visitors along the top. Please help us to get to know you better by filling this out. On it, you can indicate your desire to learn more about the congregation, become a friend or member, or request a name tag. During the offertory later in the service, you can return the visitor card to the offering plate. If you're joining us at home, you can fill out an online visitor form by going to the uucs.org website and accessing the form at the top of the Visitors, Friends, and Members tab. As we gather in this space this morning, take a moment to look around. There has been a good bit of effort that has been put into various projects in this space. Note the new camera platform. It has been recently stained. It now has a nice fabric skirt along the bottom. The Rippling Bowl art installation that was put up a few weeks ago has added some beauty and depth to this space. The exit door has been painted to blend in a bit more, and there's a new table at the back to house all sorts of worship needs and has allowed for some rearranging in the foyer as well. All of these things have been done to create a more open and organized, that's my love language, organized space. These things could not have happened without the work, effort, and coordination done by various teams and committees working together. Thank you to Aesthetics, Buildings and Grounds, Worship, and Technology team. If you had a hand in making any of that possible, please stand up so we can applaud your efforts. I know some of y'all are here. There we go. Thank you guys for making this space such a beautiful and welcoming atmosphere. Just a few more announcements as we begin our time together. As the pandemic is an ever-evolving situation and we are now seeing case numbers and hospitalizations again on the uprise, we know vaccines are still proving to be highly effective against emerging variants. We know that the fastest way to end this is to do what we can to stop the spread. As such, we continue to support the current board recommendations through August that were masks encouraged for all while indoors, honor social distancing, and no shaming of individual choices. Mark your calendars. The much anticipated service of ordination for Ann Garner is coming up in 2 weeks. Make plans to join this milestone event Sunday, August 1st, 3 p.m. at the First Baptist Greenville Sanctuary. This is a dual ordination service between UUCS and Ann's home church of FBG. Ann is asking for handwritten notes to be brought to the ordination service to serve as a cherished memento. Share a memory, share well wishes, share encouragement, whatever it is that you'd like to put into a note. If you are not able to attend the service and would like to share a note in advance or have questions about the service itself, please find Ann after the service. You want to wave where you are? There she is, front and center. All right. Additionally, Stacy Jackson needs your help. She's beginning the process of putting together a book of her Rippling Bowl photos and is asking for reflections, poems, or descriptions of what a photo series or particular photos meant to you. She's also in need of volunteers to help on occasion with setting up the Rippling Bowl on certain Sundays when she's away. Please direct any questions to Stacy. Stacy, wave where you are. After the service today, or you can find her contact information in Breeze. This really is an amazing congregation. Amazing just doesn't quite cut it. Thank you for caring for one another and for generously giving within these walls and beyond in so many different ways. On behalf of the board of the UUCS Board of Trustees, thank you for being a part of this congregation today.
Hello? Oh, there we go. Hi, everyone. I am Mary Underwood, and I am facilitating today's service. Today we are going to be listening to some of the youth in our church, Max Fritchie and Seffi Gillum. As you know, the theme for this summer is a year in reflection, a year of quarantine, pandemic, and reflection. When we were discussing this series in the worship committee, it was my idea that we might want to hear from some of the youth in our church, and I was happy to volunteer to facilitate and coordinate that. I think understanding what this has been like for young people is incredibly important. Birth to 25 is the period of time in our life when we have the most rapid developmental process. There are so many important developmental processes going on. And COVID really, truly disrupted the developmental process of almost every young person in the pandemic. And that doesn't mean it was all bad. There have been ways that young people have grown and thrived, and I think you'll hear some of that today. But there's not a question in the world that it couldn't have come at a worse time for these kids. So I really want us to hear what they have to say. When I suggested this, I had no idea that I'd be doing it the morning after I moved my youngest child to college. Not sure I would have been brave enough to do this had I known that that's the timing. Didn't know the risk I was taking, and y'all seeing obvious emotion and maybe some tears. And I want y'all to understand, it's a big deal. It's my first day as an empty nester. It's a really big deal. And especially focusing on youth, that comes to the surface. But, I do believe that everything unfolds exactly as it should. So I believe there is a reason that I was supposed to do this the day after I moved my youngest child into college. So I guess we'll see what that was. And I'm really happy to be here. Working with young people in my profession, raising young people, really has given me an in-depth perspective on the myriad of ways that this has impacted the youth in our culture. My son is, he's kind of stoic in how he discusses emotions. He doesn't discuss them a whole lot. And we had a moment, I don't remember exactly the timing, but if you guys remember when they made school from home. And they had said originally that it was going to be just till spring break, and then they were going to go back. My son has never liked school. He is not made for school. He's not made to sit still all day and do what people tell him to do. He's never liked it. And when we found out they weren't going back after spring break, I expected at the worst for it to kind of be a 50-50 neutral. And he was actually very, very distressed, which surprised me a little bit. And it was one of the times he really talked to me about how it felt. And he was like, this is killing me. This is killing me. And it really was. And I had thought about how hard it was for the youth, but then I thought about me at 17. And, it would have killed me. I don't think I'd have done as well as he did. If I didn't have the life experience, I didn't have the emotional regulation that comes with a fully developed brain, I don't know that I would have handled it very well at all. And I think that's been an experience for a lot of young people. And it's really made me want to have in the forefront us thinking about how hard this experience has been. So y'all may notice my shirt. It says Raising Legends. This is somewhat in honor of my son and my older child, because I think they're pretty legendary and wonderful. But the truth of the matter is that all of our young people are legends of a sort. They're our legacy, and they are going to be who write our future. And even if you aren't parenting however you interact with young people, whether it's in a professional or formal way, or whether it's that you are kind to a kid at the grocery store that might be overdone a little bit and you wave to them. It doesn't matter. However you interact with the youth, you are also raising legends. And it is a great honor and a great responsibility. And I appreciate all of you being here physically, virtually, to listen to these young people. So I want to tie up this welcome with a quote from Scott Peck, who wrote The Road Less Traveled, one of my very favorite books. I don't know which writing this is from. He wrote a lot. But listen to children enough, and you will come to realize that they are extraordinary individuals. And the more extraordinary you realize children to be, the more you will be willing to listen to them. And the more you listen to them, the more you will learn about life.
Morning. My name is Melissa Fritchie, and I am delighted to be serving as your worship associate this morning. I would like to thank my colleague, Mary, who is my colleague both on the worship team and in the behavioral health sector, for agreeing to facilitate her suggested reflection today. I just want to make note that we are at the time in our congregation when our minister is on his so very much needed 6-week study leave during the summer. And it has really been a wonderful time for these reflections of what the past year has been like. We are in a series of reflections. We have heard about the travels of our Rippling Bowl. We have heard about the work of our mask makers. We're hearing from our youth today, and I would like to especially thank my good friends, Seffi and Max, for agreeing without very much coercion to participate in this service also. Next week, we'll hear about parenting during the pandemic, and then on into August, we'll be hearing from some healthcare providers. It has been an important time for me to hear about some of the work of our church and to help process what we have all been through. Our chalice lighting this morning is a reading chosen by Mary Underwood. The secret message communicated to most young people today by the society around them is that they are not needed, that the society will run itself nicely until they, at some point in the distant future, will take over the reins. Yet the fact is that the society is not running itself nicely, because the rest of us need all the energy, brains, imagination, and talent that young people can bring to bear down on our difficulties. For society to attempt to solve its desperate problems without the full participation of even the very young people is imbecile. You are welcome here. You are welcome here, and you are welcome if you are joining us at home. If you are a newcomer, like my new friend Jack, or if you are an old-timer, like my old friend Jinx, if you need to find some place to be yourself, you are welcome. We are a welcoming congregation. That means come as you are. You have found a place to be. But welcoming also means that some of us, we extroverts, are here to be among people. Some of us thrive on human contact, including the need for hugs. This is the time in our service set aside for greeting one another. Fellow extroverts, find one another and commune as you will. But let us remember, hang on just a second, Jinx, I'm coming for you. I'm going to be right there. You're first. Remember, as Clemson has taught us, to cue your greeting to the person you approach. Seated or remaining at your seat means you would like a wave or a namaste. An offered elbow or fist means that you would like a bump. Arms spread wide suggests that you are safe for hugs. If you are watching from home, please enjoy the mayhem from the safety of your couch, but feel free to reach out to someone you care for via OWL, ESP, or the electronic medium of your choosing. You will be timed. Ready, set, go. Yes. Settle down. Telling a room full of Unitarian Universalists to settle down. What am I thinking? All right. We are a congregation of Unitarian Universalists. We gather here to be with one another, not because we think alike, look alike, love alike, or agree on everything, far from it, but because we believe that in coming together with shared purpose, we can make a difference in the world. Community is work. We remind ourselves of this by a shared promise of how we wish to be in community with one another. Join me in saying the words written by this congregation, found in the order of service, either in your hands or the link below our live stream. Our covenant guides our work together. We are a people of faith and hope. Together we covenant to strive to become our better selves, to honor both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to respond to systems of violence and oppression with the power of a love beyond belief. We offer now a time to feel the care of this community and to support our work. Our rippling bowl offers an important ritual of sharing. Our offertory also allows you to share your gifts supporting the work of this community. As you come forward to place a stone or shell in the bowl, indicating a joy, a hope, or a burden you carry, you may also place your offering in the plate provided. Our Share the Plate Fund this month supports our own UUCS Scholarship Fund for the Mountain Retreat. Half of all undesignated funds or your designated funds will go to help members and friends attend our church-wide retreat at the mountain in October. If you are joining from home, we hold you in care by placing a stone for you. And remember, you can donate to our work by clicking on the link at the website. Thank you for this time of sharing with this community.
Good morning, sun. I am a bird wearing a brown polyester shirt. You want a Coke? Maybe some fries. The roast beef combo's only $9.95. It's okay. You don't have to pay. I've got all the change. Everybody knows it hurts to grow up, and everybody does. It's so weird to be back here. Let me tell you what, the years go on and we're still fighting it, we're still fighting it, and you're so much like me. I'm sorry. Good morning, sun. In 20 years from now, maybe we'll both sit down and have a few beers. And I can tell you about today and how I picked you up and everything changed. It was pain, sunny days and rain. I knew you'd feel the same things. Everybody knows it sucks to grow up, and everybody does. It's so weird to be back here. Let me tell you what, the years go on and we're still fighting it, we're still fighting it. You'll try and try, and one day you'll
Our reading this morning comes from Tree-Spirited Woman by Colleen Baldrica. Tree-spirited woman looked at me and said tenderly, "Children are the window to the future and the mirror to the past. A child allows one to see from where one has come and to dream about where one may go. Each child's journey will be unique. A child's journey is not easy. The child must bravely step into a world where only the child can go, and the parent can only imagine. I never thought of a child's life as being a journey," I said. "I sometimes think the children of today are kind of messed up, and I pray each day that my children will grow up with a positive outlook." Tree-spirited woman responds, "The children of today are really no different than the children of yesterday. Children of the past, as well as children of the present, laugh, cry, and want to be accepted by others. Children are no more, as you say, messed up today than they were in generations past." Tree-spirited woman pointed to the little buds on the tree and continued, "See the small buds forming? They are the tree's future. Those buds are the leaves of tomorrow. They will sprout, grow, flow in the wind, shout out with color, let go, and move on. It is the same with children. The buds will turn into leaves. The children will grow into adults. The children of today will make the choices for our future. The future is always in the hands of the children."
Okay, my mic works. Let's make sure both yours do.
Test. Yay.
Wait, you go again, Max.
Test.
Okay, good. I couldn't tell from up here. Okay. I think I've thanked you guys many, many times for going on this adventure with me, but I want to thank you formally in front of everyone. I think it's a really brave thing that you guys are doing to be up here. I think just the being and letting everyone look at me when I was your age without saying a word would have made me a nervous wreck. So I'm really, really grateful. So y'all have gotten a little sneak peek. Y'all already know what my first question's going to be. So would y'all mind telling everyone, so what was good about the pandemic and quarantine? How did it benefit you? What did you end up liking, whether it surprised you or not?
I had this one group of friends throughout the whole pandemic, and we all kind of had similar families. They didn't want us to leave, so we didn't, but we just all got online almost every day and just played online, and that was great because they're still one of my closest friends.
Great. Did y'all play any things in particular?
Mainly just video games.
During the beginning of the pandemic, I was enjoying being quarantined because it was a break from school at the time, and I liked sleeping in every morning. I didn't have to get up at 6:30. So that was nice. I enjoyed that.
I like that part too. So, is there anything that you think that you will miss when life returns to quote unquote normal?
Definitely, because the pandemic brought most of my friends together, and all of us go to separate schools, and I'll probably miss that. And because our schools are a lot later than they were now, so.
I have to say, I'm not going to miss anything about it.
Okay.
When everything returns to quote unquote normal, yay.
Yay.
I get to see people.
I think it's a huge thing when even you won't even miss sleeping in late because
Oh,
of
not
all.
even close.
No, yeah.
There's so many like catches.
Uh-huh.
If you get to sleep in, you don't get to see your friends.
Exactly. Which kind of leads to my next question, which was, what was awful and what was hardest? Which might be the same answer or it might be different answers.
Well, probably because it was a bad virus that got people really sick. And also, I didn't get to see a lot of my friends that I didn't have contact with. So that was not that great.
Again, the first portion of quarantine wasn't bad. I mean, it was a break. But then you're so isolated from everyone. It's like just being alone all the time. I mean, of course you have your parents, but you need a break. You need a break sometimes.
Here's a secret, we need a break sometimes too. So we've mentioned school some, and I'm curious, I think there are two questions when it comes to school. I think the first was kind of how did you deal with the way schools changed? How did you handle school? Because some kids went back part-time, some went back full-time, some didn't go back at all. And how was it hard? What I can tell you is that the adults in your world, the teachers, the administrators, were scrambling like wild animals. And most of them felt like they were doing a really crappy job in really hard circumstances. They'd never been trained how to do virtual stuff, how to make sure they were attending to kids, how they deal with kids who have varying, very different supports and resources. And I'm sure you guys felt that. So the first question about school is, what was just the experience of how school changed? How did it feel? And the next question is, how did it impact you academically? Because most young people I know, it had a really negative impact on.
Well, I was one of the people who it actually helped me a lot better. A lot of my classrooms I just didn't like because they were just really cold. And
Like emotionally cold or like
oh
temperature?
no, they didn't. The AC was always on.
Oh, okay.
We weren't. One teacher one time just wouldn't allow it. It was a sub that wouldn't allow us to get jackets, which is not that fun. But I actually prefer virtual school. It just takes a lot of the stress off of me because it's a lot harder for a teacher to just ask you something in front of the whole class, which I hated. So I liked it better than in person.
I started this past school year, doing hybrid, and so I was only seeing half of my class. And so when I went back to full-time school, and it was like another first day of school, meeting the other half of my class. And so it was like starting all over, which was good in some ways, but bad in others. I was really happy to be back, so it was just different because no one had seen anybody.
What was hard about that experience? You said that it was bad in some ways, good in others. What was hard about that?
It was nice to be able to start over again. But you kind of lost, I kind of lost some stuff during quarantine. Like, all of my friends were in different classes now, and I had no means of contact with them. I hadn't spoken to them since the school year before, and we didn't get to say goodbye. We all thought we were going to see each other after those 2 weeks.
How do you think your teachers did?
one of my teachers just relied on her whiteboard, not the electronic one, the one that she could erase stuff on. And that was a really big difference for her because she had these books that she would pass around. And I could tell she was struggling because she just didn't like the way the system was set up. She didn't even use the electric board that much. So it was very different for her, and I could kind of tell that it was different. But we had two teachers. One teacher actually did pretty well. I think she did good. She was always a good teacher, so I believe somehow, some way she got some prep for it. But
we did Zoom meetings, and the mic was always a problem. It was just over half of the class would be technical stuff, and it was like we weren't learning as much.
Which leads to an important question. Do you guys feel like when you go back to school, I know a lot of young people do, feel like you're going to be behind, that you're going to be scrambling to catch up like what all you missed last year?
I don't know, to be perfectly honest, because I just switched to a different school, a charter school, and I didn't always feel like I was at the right spot that I needed to be. But I don't know, because I believe it will sort me into the right class. So.
That question, I feel kind of lucky because I got to go back, and I'm going to a different school. I'm going to a middle school now, and so it'll be kind of fresh for everybody. So I'm not scared about that.
So, relationships, peers, friends. I mean, y'all have already talked about it a little bit, but I know no one really got to act the way that is normal to act at your age with your friends. You didn't have the same level of contact, privacy, all of those things. I mean, it's been a while, but I remember there was a freedom at school that you could go get in your little conclaves and you didn't have little groups, and you didn't have to worry about a parent was in the other room and would hear stuff or anything. I also know for my son that there were such really varying, wide differences in what was restricted. You know, I know like my son had the most restrictions of any of his friends. And I know that was really hard. A lot of his friends' families were like, oh, just do whatever. And we weren't. And that was really hard to be the kid whose mom was the strictest, which might be the only time I ever have been the strictest. But can y'all tell me more about how that impacted your relationships? What was hard? What was good? What you missed? Et cetera, et cetera.
I will probably actually miss the interaction because I was really lucky. Both of the schools that I'm going to go to now are in my neighborhood. So most of the kids are in my neighborhood. And there was this one friend that I would like bike with every single day. And that's just what we would do. That's how we would interact. We would go out and bike. And I will probably miss that because I'm not always that good with time management and homework. So I'm not sure how that will be. It will probably not stay the same.
My classmates kept getting on meetings like Google Meet and stuff, and I would get invited to those sometimes, but it was like not that my parents were being strict because I didn't really want to get out because I knew things were bad, but people were seeing each other and I wasn't, and so that was a little upsetting that I couldn't see other people, but other people could. I mean, just the isolation of it all.
Has it been hard, or has it felt natural to kind of reintegrate back into being in a normal kind of peer interaction?
I don't know yet because I haven't gone back to middle school really, but I know it will be different because I'm a completely different person than who I left off on.
I think I've gotten back into the swing of things. It took me a minute. And now I'm going to summer camp as a junior counselor, and everything's different there because masks are changing all over the place, and I'm working with younger children who can't get vaccinated yet.
So, I mean, you guys are in I love what you just said, Max, about you're a totally different person now than when school took off, because y'all are right at the age where there are these huge, huge leaps of transformation and pretty significant developmental changes. Did either of y'all experience like some big things during this period of time, and how did being in quarantine impact those big changes?
Well, I know I've had probably too much time with myself, but the main thing that has changed me is I've gotten a lot of time to like get to know myself, like just in every way, my gender identity, I finally had time to myself, so.
Do you think that helped you with figuring out your gender identity?
Not always, because one time when I was at camp, I was in the middle of the creative writing class with the babies, and I just spun a wheel for my new name. So that was very fun.
You got lucky. Max is a good name.
Well, I only had 2 names there, so.
What was our other alternative?
Axar, it means ghost.
Yeah, I like Max better. I think I like the one. All right. How about you?
I liked what Max said about having time to, having that much time for yourself, to kind of find out who you are. And I think that I realized I was bisexual.
Do you think that quarantine helped you have the time and space you needed to figure that out about yourself?
It gave me time to pay attention to what I am, to who I am.
Do you think the quarantine made it easier, harder, or had no impact on coming out as bisexual?
Just the fact that I was able to focus on myself more than other things during quarantine. I do think it impacted.
You think it helped you tell people, or made it harder to tell people?
I haven't told people. This is.
You all should be deeply honored. That's very brave. Very brave. So, getting into a couple of specifics, I asked you guys to pick a song, and we got to hear Seffi's song with Waving Through the Window, which was beautiful. Thanks, Aaron. Unfortunately, Max's songs, Little Talks, which is a great song, was a little too complex for an individual person on a piano. If y'all ever heard that song, there's like a callback between a couple of singers, so I can see how that would have been hard to do. But I'm wondering if you guys would share with me kind of your thought processes and how you picked your songs.
I wanted to do Little Talks just because it was a song that I really enjoyed listening to over quarantine.
Did you have any other songs you considered?
We had a long list. Yeah. I remember like our last ones was A Different Forever Young and Look Who's Inside Again from the new Bo Burnham special. I liked that one because it was about I believe it was about being just inside somewhere or in a room with like no one to talk to.
For me, music was one of the most helpful coping mechanisms to deal with all the stress of being living during the pandemic, and I started getting into a lot of different Broadway musicals, like Hamilton and Dear Evan Hansen, which that song is from. And so I listened to that song a lot, and it made me feel like the isolation. There's even isolation when you're not during a pandemic. So maybe I'm fortunate to not have felt this way before.
It's a beautiful piece of insight. How about vaccinated? Y'all are both fully vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, what was that process like? Was it scary? How did you feel? Did you get sick? Did you have any symptoms?
I was really lucky that I didn't have a whole lot of symptoms. I just complained that my arm was hurting. That's about it. I am pretty afraid of needles, so the 2 needles was not my favorite thing, but it was okay.
How about you? It was absolutely terrifying. I don't like shots. I will say I cried when we were in the Walgreens.
The anticipation.
Yeah, the anticipation. After I got the shot, I was like, oh wow, that didn't hurt. And I'm very glad that I got it. Now it's like a little bit of closure. I don't have to, that's one less thing to worry about.
Did you have any symptoms?
My arm was really sore and I was tired. I had a little bit of a fever, but it was pretty fine.
So one of the things that we're going to do for just a few minutes, because we're almost out of time, but I don't care, we're still going to do this for a few minutes, is there's a game that I play a lot at work with a lot of different people, and it's called Emotion Ball. And it's just this little ball right here, and every little piece has an emotion on it. And when you catch the ball, whatever your thumb lands on, you talk about the time you felt that way. So I've talked to these young people about this, and we've even practiced a little bit. And they're going to, all of us, I'm playing too, whatever emotion we land on with our thumb, I think Jinx wants to play. We'll throw the ball to you at least once, Jinx. Whatever emotion you land on, talk about a time you felt that way during the pandemic. So we'll throw to Sephi first.
I landed on thankful, and I've talked a little bit about being thankful, I guess, that I had so much during the pandemic. Like, we didn't run out of anything. I could still talk to some of my friends, like over text, and I'm thankful that it's over. Mostly.
That counts.
Sorry. I feel kind of sorry for some of my friends that couldn't really do too well on online school, and that did not really help them too much get into the right class come time to go back to school. So
I got brave. Kind of feels like maybe y'all should have gotten this word, but I had to be brave a lot. Trying to manage. It was really hard for me as a parent to walk that line between protecting. Well, my oldest child is independent enough I couldn't tell them what to do. But my younger child, who I had some power and control over, it was really hard to find that line between safety and the emotional and social needs of being, 16 and 17. And so I don't know if I was brave but I felt brave when I would let him move out into the world a little bit. Also terrified, but brave. This is one of the fun parts of this game.
I got sorry too. I felt sorry for other people, but also to other people, because I think I lashed out at people from being alone so much, specifically my parents. I'm sure they got their share of anger from me, and I'm sorry for that.
I got stressed. Probably just, probably around like last summer, because we both go to camp, and that's like has always been one of my favorite places to be. I mean, we've been going since we were like, what, 4? So it was kind of different to not be there all summer, because that's always been like one of my safe spaces, I guess.
Yeah, I got stressed. The same thing that made me brave made me stressed, but let's see if I can come up with another one. Oh, working virtually, having to see my clients through a computer, and I could so relate to all the technical glitches. When I went back to my office, my favorite thing in the world was that my first question to every client I see wasn't, "Can you hear me?" It was really awesome. So yeah, that was stressful. Let's do one more round.
Disappointed. I was disappointed that quarantine wasn't everything that I thought it would be. The teachers had talked to us that maybe this will happen and you'll come back in 2 weeks, and it was exciting. It was like vacation, but you don't have to make it up. But then it was awful. It was the worst. I mean, that being alone again.
It's just full of disappointments.
I got lonely. Well, probably because I had to be stuck in one house with the same people every day. It kind of, it was a mixed feelings. I liked being alone some because I would always like celebrate when my parents were going out to dinner or something, just because I get some time to myself. I get to pick my dinner. But yeah, I guess that's it.
I landed on the name of God. Okay, then let's see. How's that? It's so funny. I would love the name of God twice. Thoughtful. Okay. Thoughtful. I tried to be thoughtful in everything I did. I tried to be thoughtful in giving people social distancing space, not going places I wasn't supposed to, wearing a mask when I went places. But I also tried to be thoughtful of how much pain and how difficult it was for so many people. All right, so final question from me. What can you take? What are you going to take from this experience into the future?
Probably, well, I don't really know. I try not to plan for another pandemic, but
You and me both.
probably that I should actually spend less time with myself. Because at the point where I was spinning a wheel for my own name, for which one I liked best, I'm not sure that should be normalized for me, since I have a long list of names that I wanted to go by it at the same time, so.
We can all get, if we have, being able to be with ourselves is important, but we are social animals, and we need, even the most introverted of us need connection and relationships with other people. So I think all of us can have too much time to ourselves. How about you?
I think this is going to sound a little cliche, but we all take for granted what we have, and then it's gone. And sometimes you can't have it back. I think, don't get me wrong, COVID was completely awful, but it did help us realize that we have a lot.
So, is there anything I didn't ask you guys that you would like to share? Got it? Thank y'all again. Y'all are awesome.
As someone that has come out, I'm going to go ahead and tell you this now. You're going to get a lot of you. May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. May you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung, and may you stay forever young. May you grow up to be righteous. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see the light surrounding you. May you always be courageous, stand upright and be strong, and may you stay forever young. Forever young. Forever young. May you stay forever young. May your hands always be busy. May your feet always be swift. May you have a strong foundation when the winds of changes shift. May your heart always be joyful. May your song always be sung. And may you stay forever young. Forever young. Forever young. May you stay forever young. Forever young. Forever young. May you stay forever young.
Thank you, Erin. Our final reading is My Daughter Asleep by David White. Carrying a child, I carry a bundle of sleeping future appearances. I carry my daughter adrift on my shoulder, dreaming her slender dreams, and I carry her beneath the window, watching her moonlit palm open and close like a tiny folded map, each line a path that leads where I can't go, so that I read her palm, not knowing what I read, and walk with her in moonlight not knowing with whom I walk, making invisible prayers to go on with her where I can't go, conversing with so many unknowns that must know her more intimately than I do. And so, to these unspoken shadows and this broad night, I make a quiet request to the great parental darkness to hold her when I cannot, to comfort her when I am gone, to help her learn to love the unknown for itself, to take it gladly like a lantern for the way before her, to make her see where ordinary light cannot help, where happiness has fled, where faith will not reach. My prayer tonight for the great and hidden symmetries of life, to reward this faith I have and twin her passages of loneliness with friendship, her exiles with homecoming, her first awkward steps with promised onward leaps. May she find in all this, day or night, the beautiful centrality of pure opposites. May she discover before she grows old not to choose so easily between past and present. May she find in one or the other her gifts acknowledged. And so, as I help to name her, I help to name these powers. I bring to life what is needed. I invoke the help she'll want, flowing those moonlit lines into a future uncradled by me, but parented by all I call. As she grows away from me, may these lifelines grow with her. Keep her safe. So with my open palm, whose lines have run before her to make a safer way, I hold her smooth cheek and bless her this night and beyond it for every unknown night to come.
Everyone is someone's child. It is important for each of us to take time to enjoy life as a child. We must be childlike in order to see the goodness and beauty in everyone and everything around us. It is by experiencing the world through the child inside that we fully become the nurturing adults.
We have spent time together, and these holy moments give us strength to go down the winding road until we meet again. We have spent time together, and these holy moments give us strength to go down the winding road until we meet again. On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass, waving through a window. I try to speak, but nobody can hear, so I wait around for an answer to appear while I'm watching people pass.